Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stochastic Agency here on Sunday, August 28th, 2022. Today on Sunday, we're going to take a look at some cover art. Now, we've been asked to tag some people, and unfortunately, the last time I tried to tag people, it didn't really work. Not to mention that a lot of people I know don't really use hashtags and aren't really locked into using that kind of stuff. But we are going to take some look at some cover art. These are not really going to come up in any particular order, but I'm going to talk about the artists and give them credit for the hard work that they've done to grace both the inside and, more often, the cover of a lot of the books and boxes that we collect for playing role-playing games. There is one exception, though, and that is the very last artist in this line. So first, we're going to take a look at Errol Otis. This is from the basic set of D&D, and this is the box set that really helped to get me in on role-playing games. I am a huge fan of all the work that he has done. He just has a very unique style, which is distinct. It's recognizable. It is somewhat imitated by a few other artists that I've seen out in the field, but there's always something that makes Otis's art distinct and recognizable. For this next one, we're going to talk about Wayne Reynolds and the cover of the Pathfinder core rulebook. When I was transitioning to different games and wanted to kind of stick with what I liked about 3rd edition and 3.5, and I guess technically they still call Pathfinder 1st edition 3.75. The art of Wayne Reynolds is something that really kind of brought home a different feel for Dungeons and Dragons going into Pathfinder and its development. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's a great personification of a certain type of hero, a very well-rounded look. It reminds me a lot of certain comic book artists who were always putting an immense amount of detail into the characters that they were illustrating. He does a phenomenal job across the scope of doing both character art, creature art, and environmental art. It's something I think that has just really made the game that I grew to love, playing 3rd edition, distinct and unique, kind of moving into the Pathfinder world. This next artist really is more than just an RPG cover art artist. Simon Stahlenhag has done, and hopefully I didn't totally butcher that last name, has done a lot of amazing work, not just in the world of RPGs, but his cover for Mutant Mechatron is, I think, a wonderful vision of what the robotic search for meaning is, and it's very apropos for the cover of this game by Free League Publishing. Johanna Egerkrans has, much like Errol Otis, a very distinct style, and it is one that, for me, when I saw the work being done on Vaesen, it's able to evoke a kind of a certain sense of mystery in a somewhat kind of old historical kind of style of illustration and coloration. The color palette itself, the softness of the colors, it's something that I think is a very unique style and very fitting for the game of Vaesen. And I definitely look forward to seeing, if I remember correctly, he is going to be doing all of the artwork for Free League's next Kickstarter, the English translation of their very first role-playing game. Kind of continuing on with our theme of fantasy games, Nate Marcel, who is the cover artist for Dungeon World, really brings to life for me a certain sense of darkness and danger in a fantasy world that focuses on narrative exploration. Across the board, his work's color and distinct style is, again, another one of those that makes it very recognizable and in many ways is fitting for this style of book. Heather Vaughn, Kids on Bikes. Now, I've not really been able to get in a chance to play this game or Tales from Loop, which is the game that I actually own. But while I like the cover art for it, the work done by Heather Vaughn is just something I think the use of color, her particular style of illustration, I think it really keeps in mind this fascination about kids on bikes, solving mysteries, and going on adventures. It's something that when you look at, you shouldn't be deceived by what people would consider a very simple style. I think the combination of the illustrations and the color palette she uses throughout her work is just fantastic for this theme and this type of role-playing game. Now, I did say I was going to save my personal favorite for last, and this particular artist has done a considerable body of work, not just inside the games community, in particular for Magic the Gathering, but I was kind of intrigued that it took so long for them to get her to do a cover for a book, and that is Wiley Beckert. I know the backdrop behind me is a little bit blurred out, but there's a considerable body of her work that does grace my walls. She's one of the few artists that I do want to have up and viewable at almost all times. Her work from the Wicked Kingdoms Kickstarter is what really drew my attention to her. And ever since then, I've just been a big admirer of her process and her results. I think she is an artist who really has a lot of dedication to the practice of working on her art in the physical medium. And that's not to say that digital artists aren't worth paying attention to, but there's a certain level of skill that goes into using the physical objects and materials of art. And her ability to manipulate and work within oil paint mediums is something I find fascinating, especially since I've tried and still continue to try and achieve at least a modicum decent level of work. So that's it for our selection of cover art and artists. We are now at the end of the last full week. From here on out, we're going to talk about what we'd like to see in the future and when we took part in the past in RPG a Day. So, as always, get out there and have more fun, try to get more people involved in playing RPGs, and just continue to be kosher with each other.